But their reasoning was that the journalists needed to be more academic and less practical. That journalists, that there still was a value in teaching the way things were, and which I would agree with. There is a value. It comes to judgment on what you think is reasonable or not. Mainly, I think that what it was that you got a load of old fuckers in there who haven't worked in the industry for 25 years and don't know the changes. And if you're going to teach new shit, you have to do new shit. And that just wasn't going to work. They just weren't interested in doing that. One of the things I proposed was I thought that everybody who worked in the department, and I think that this is also something that you need to think about for yourselves, in the organisations that you're in. I thought that everybody who worked there should at least for 3 months of every year work in the industry that they're involved in, that they should be out working in the actual industry itself. And this was not going to happen and didn't. And so, you know, fair enough, I lost, I'm gone.
But
That was
can I
no
add
problem.
something on this?
Yes?
I mean, what you're saying is why exactly I didn't learn anything in Faculty of Mass Communication Journalism department, because we were studying how things were so many years ago, like centuries, since Gutenberg invented the machine. No, seriously, I studied this for a whole semester. And by the end of the 4th year, we had this lecture when a professor came in, he's like, by the way, you didn't learn anything about media, because media is totally different from everything you took. When we started working, we found out that all we knew were theories that are gone, that started in the 70s. We didn't learn anything about, you know, the new satellites, internet, mobile, anything.
Sure.
So what you're saying is just like really, really rings a lot of bells of how those faculties should function if we want to create people who understand media.
But I would also say that it's not, and it's something that I've come to in a few. It's not either or.
Both.
No,
It's never. Nothing is ever either or. So it's not that theory is not important.
It's important.
It is hugely important. It's not that practice is not important. It's hugely important. It's the melding together of theory and practice in a way that will work in the real world that is important. But it's also an ideological thing. You know, how do we see opinion building? How do we see what we do? And there are different ways of looking at it. There are different, ideologically different ways of looking at it, and they will have an effect on the way that we actually do this in the field when we need to do it. And it's a power thing. Because, you know, if I have had the power to tell the story, and I've had people listening to me, and somebody comes along and says, okay, we need to change that. We need it to be so that not you tell the story, but that we build the story. That's a shift. That's a huge fucking shift. And for me, as somebody who has had that power, it's a shift. And nobody gives up power free. Nobody gives up power willingly. Very occasionally it will happen. In general terms, people don't give up power willingly. Political power, social power, any sort of power. It has to be
taken.
No, not necessarily taken. But if there is a change in the way power relationships work, then somebody is going to have less power than they had before. If so, you know, and that somebody, that can be an entity, it can be an organisation, it can be a political party, it can be a country, whatever it happens to be. That somebody will not be fucking happy. And you know, that transition will never be a peaceful, it may be a peaceful transition, but it'll never be an ordered transition. You don't get ordered transition from one power system to another. You get messy transitions all the time. And this is another thing that we're going to have to look at, that the changes that we're going through now, and I'll come to those in a few minutes, in society in general, are messy changes. They will look as if they are illogical, because you will have conflicting power arrangements on top of each other, under each other, around each other. And yes, there will be things that don't seem to be logical in what we talk about here. And that is always the case in a change in power relationships, which is what I think that we're going through now. I believe that digitalisation, which we're going to talk about a lot, that digitalisation is one of the biggest changes that we as a global society are going